What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto entered the Uchiha women's secret bath? If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Her classmates see her as a failure since the review classes rejected her and she already failed twice, hence the name of dead last and failure. Her failures weren't really her own as her teachers all sabotaged her up until Iruka. Mizuki however did do his best to mess her up, so things have went more or less like canon until the whole scroll things. Also, to let people know before they ask, there are reasons that her classmates and older 9 doesn't know about Naruto's true gender. Since this was the Hokage's idea to hide her as a boy, he provided seals made in special clothes that block the Byakugan from seeing through the clothing, though it may still see chakra to some extent. It's the same seals that the Hyuga used to create privacy for themselves that they put on their walls, such as the main house, to keep the branch from spying on them, and the council meeting chambers. As for the Inuzuka, she wears a special cologne that confuses and messes with the dogs and their own sense of smell. It is so potent that it even drives the insects from the Aburame away from her, as it makes them sick when they get too close. As for showers, the academy doesn't have them. They're training the students to get used to the life of ninja, and ninja don't take a shower after a little exercise when they are on the road since there are none. Sure, they can take a dip in a river or lake, but more often than not they will have to travel a day or two while realistically not expecting to see either or a town. A little blood and sweat isn't going to kill anyone, and they drive that into the students' heads. Also, at first Naruto's opinion of her teammates, or classmates for that matter, will not be very good. She doesn't really know them that well and they don't know her. They will grow closer as a team as time goes by. Also, a lot of the dark elements will be absent from this story, such as Sakura's mom being a huge evil bitch. In fact, her mom will love and support her in this story. Ryu and Lilith may even make appearances as Sakura's family in this, and still together if they do. There may seem to be some bashing as they don't like each other at first, and their thoughts will reflect that. One last thing of note. While there will be some discussions of a UAL nature as well as references to, there will be no lemons in this story, so please don't ask me to write any. That's it for now, enjoy the story. An hour, it had been a damned hour after since everyone but Naruto and his, or rather her, 2 teammates had left the classroom. To both of them she was a loser boy who had failed twice and only passed this 3rd time by unknown circumstances, since her defeating Mizuki had been classified as an S-rank secret. It sucked not being able to take the credit that she so deserved and shove it in the faces of the 2 worst possible teammates. Sure, Sasuke was cute if she admitted it, even if she didn't exactly like guys in that way. She could still appreciate them, as she would be lying if she said she didn't find them somewhat attractive at least a little. She would really suck at her first job if she couldn't get into guys after all, and she was good at her first job, or so her girlfriend said, as she was also her trainer. Still, she hated most men as they were only interested in one thing and one thing only. They were also usually arrogant and controlling assholes who thought they were better than everyone else, thought they were so much better than girls. As if girls were smarter and much more compassionate than men were in her opinion. Who cares if men were on the average more physically strong than women were, they were complete idiots. Show a little flesh, a little teasing with no promises, and the little lapdogs would be eating out of a woman's hand. Sakura was kind of pretty, in a way reminding Naruto of her mother figure and her red-haired girlfriend. Of course the girl didn't have the curves Naruto had, or that any of the women that was a big part of the blonde's life had. It sucked having to bind her chest so tightly while wearing such ugly and baggy clothing as the horrendous orange jumpsuit. It paid to have the Kyuubi in her, as the demon's mere presence accelerated her growth and she began to mature early. She would mature quickly and even start growing faster soon for a short time. When she reached her prime, her aging would more or less seem like it would freeze, as her aging would slow drastically, letting her live a long and healthy life as long as she wasn't killed. None of that mattered though if she had to keep hiding as a damned boy. Speaking of damned boys, the Uchiha seemed to be getting more and more pissed as the trio had to wait for their sensei, as he was very late and Naruto had a feeling he would be even later. A part of her was a little scared at finding out the name of her sensei, as she debated if she should just walk out and say fuck it. It was obvious not many people wanted her as a ninja anyways. If this was the same man who had become a regular since she began working not long after your last birthday, then it would be really awkward working under him. Not that the idiot would recognize her, as she always took on another form depending on what she was doing in another mask. Kakashi would recognize her if she was in her Poppy form, the name she used at her job, but not as she was now. Yet again she couldn't help thanking the Kyuubi for its gifts, as the demon fox's presence made her henge abilities much more advanced than the average ninja. Her henges were less illusion and more shapeshifting, as it changed her body even at a cellular level. She could even change into a cat, and she has to help play her pranks on the assholes who tormented her. "Don't ogle me, you pervert," Sakura screeched as she looked back at Naruto just in time to see her sigh while looking towards the emo and Banshee. Sometime Naruto just wanted to kill the assholes. "I wouldn't ogle a flat-chested, pink-haired Banshee if you paid me." Naruto scoffed before she realized her mistake. She had been worrying about Kakashi being her Kakashi, then she realized and let her mask of being a boy slip. As a boy she acted like she had a crush on the girl just to piss the pink-haired girl off, as she acted like Naruto was disgusting and not worth being around. "What did you say?" Sakura screeched even louder while Naruto noticed that the emo bastard lips were actually twitching. So the Uchiha could actually smile at something, who knew? "Nothing, why don't you just sit back down with your boy toy and leave me the hell alone?" Naruto asked, not caring that she let her mask slip. She was growing weary of it anyways, though she would keep it up for appearances for the most part. She knew she was better than the average academy student, but she still couldn't protect herself from a chunin, much less a jonin, if they found out that she was a girl and got things in their heads. Especially if they found out just how good she looked when not wearing bindings and baggy crappy clothes. "As if any girl would want to be with you," Sakura scoffed as she sat back down, glaring at Naruto in disgust. "You know what, fuck you," Naruto snapped, her stress and anger getting the better of her. She intended to put the bitch in her place, though she wouldn't reveal everything such as her gender. "I have had a girlfriend for a long time. She's a hot redhead that. I don't want nothing to do with you, you're pervert, so keep me out of your fantasies." Sakura screeched, hitting her desk before getting up to stalk up to stand in front of Naruto's desk with fist shaking. "I didn't say pink-haired bitch, I said red-haired hottie. She makes you look like a little boy." Naruto smirked. "Only reason I bug you is because it's amusing to give you some of the same medicine you give the emo bastard. I'll pound your lying, perverted ass into the floor, you asshole." Sakura screamed as she went to punch Naruto, who caught her fist and squeezed it tightly, making the pink-haired girl wince in pain. "My first impression of you guys is, I think you might be fun," Kakashi said as he stuck his head in the door, making everyone freeze while they looked up at him at the door. He disappeared in a poof of smoke, proving that he was a shadow clone after saying, "Everyone on the roof in 5. Damn it. Naruto sighed as she realized it was the same Kakashi. How the hell was she going to get through this? Should she just give up? No, her mother figure Rose would be disappointed if she did. Rose didn't want Naruto to do something dangerous such as becoming a ninja. Hell, she really didn't want Naruto to start working for her either. But the older woman always let Naruto make her own choices and mistakes. Said it would help Naruto grow, though Rose was always there for her if something happened, and always with encouraging words while helping to make sure the blonde succeeded in everything she set out to do. Rose's motto was, "If you do something, make sure you do it good." Naruto released Sakura's fist and pushed the girl away from her while stalking out the door, while ignoring the shocked cry from the pink-haired girl and the grunt from the emo bastard. Marching down the hall and up the stairwell, the blonde-haired girl disguised as a boy made her way to the top of the building to find the asshole reading a familiar book. "Really? You're reading that in public?" Naruto asked, coming out of the stairwell and taking a seat on the steps, soon joined by her two unwanted teammates. Why couldn't she get Kiba? He was a perfect example as what she believed a guy to be, yet he was actually kind of fun to hang around even if they weren't exactly friends. Hinata would have been a good choice despite the girl having an obvious crush on her. She should really talk to the girl and put an end to that. "What do you know about it?" Kakashi asked while raising an eyebrow. "Hey, I'm not judging here. I love the books, lots of great ideas to try out, but in public?" Naruto said, musing about how Cherry had introduced her and gotten her hooked on the books. They were in a word hot, and the Yuri books gave the two plenty of ideas on things to try with each other. "Lots of ideas?" Kakashi asked, his face paling as his fingers started to go numb while his eye twitched. "Do you even know what this book is about?" "Let's see, that's volume 13, so Oh Mickey, we really shouldn't be doing this. What if the librarian comes back here? Naruto said, the last part in a breathless voice, getting three strange looks as she imitated the girl in the book that was actually one of the Yuri love scenes in it. Of course it wasn't just, the books were greatly underappreciated as many believed they were just full of smut. They were the exact opposite, as they were more counted as a romance novel. But many people didn't give them a chance, while guys loved them just for the steamy parts. And steamy they were. The writer was a genius. Please don't do that again. Kakashi whined while stuffing his book away in one of his several kunai pouches. What the hell was that? Sakura demanded from the blonde while glaring at the blue eyes girl, who only smirked. Something I doubt a little boy could appreciate. After all, the author of Uchiha is a genius. Naruto said sagely. A part of her believing the author to be a woman, as no man could write a romance that good despite the very racy scenes contained within. Okay, I think we should all introduce ourselves. Kakashi said, clapping his hands while giving an eye smile which prevented a fight from breaking out. How about the pink-haired boy first? I'm not a boy. Sakura screeched out, making Sasuke's lips twitch again and Naruto to have to fight from giggling. I'm sorry, since your teammate said you were a little boy I just figured. Kakashi said, lying through his teeth as he had read all three of their files, which was something Naruto was sure he would have done. Start with things like your name, your likes, your dislikes, your hobbies and your dream for the future. Why don't you go first, sensei? So we know how it's done. Sakura said as she gave an innocent look, making the blonde mentally gag. You know, we could just kill them all. I'm sure we could hide their bodies so no one knows. A voice said from inside Naruto's mind, making the girl smile softly. It was a good thought, but sadly she needed the team as she had three choices. The first was quitting and risking disappointing Rose and Cherry. The second was go back to the academy, and since Iruka would be starting a new class, she doubted there was any other ones in the last term that would accept her next term, and she already knew the review and advanced classes wouldn't take her. The last was just sticking with what she had and making do with it, which was what she was going to do, despite her better judgment. I doubt anyone would even blame you if you did get caught. Yeah right, they would lynch me because of the emo bastard alone. The last Uchiha my ass. He's just a whiny wannabe asshole that the council would bend over for him if Sasuke asked. Naruto scoffed mentally to the fox demon, who the blonde knew as Lina. Yep, the most powerful demon of the 9 was a woman. Suck on that, you East assholes. I bet you want to suck on something. Or better off bend over the side of the roof now for your teacher, don't you? Lina purred, getting a shiver through the blonde's body. Hey, I know it's a guy's fantasy to have his student, but it sure the hell isn't mine. I still don't know what to do about this. Naruto countered in her mind. I'm sorry, Kit, I was only teasing. I guess this really is a bit of an awkward situation. Lina sighed. Look at it this way, you have some insight on the type of man your new sensei is. Yeah, a lazy, egotistical bastard. Naruto grumbled to Lina. You know he has a soft side, and he isn't exactly like the image you have of every man there is. And before you start, I'm not defending men, since I know they can be horn dogs, after all they're men. That's the whole point of it, sweetie. Women attract men, men sleep with women, women have babies, and the cycle goes on. Sometimes it's through marriage and sometimes it's not, but without it the human race would die out. Think of it as the circle of life, if you will. Lina said as she took on a kind, yet lecturing tone. You've been watching Lion King again, haven't you? Naruto snorted. She wasn't sure where the movies that the fox demon had come from, but Naruto had lounged around in her mindscape with the fox demon, watching movies that Lina created in a theater that was conjured up just for those times. Blondie. A shout startled the blonde, dragging her away from her conversation with Lina, making the blonde blush as she realized she had zoned out and missed what everyone was saying. What? Naruto asked a little sheepishly. It's your turn, introduce yourself. Kakashi sighed as he rubbed his temples. What? Oh yeah, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, and should I tell the truth, or at least what I can, and still keep my guy mask, or lie and tell them I cover? Normally I would say lie, but these are going to be your teammates for a long while, and as loath as I am to admit it, you should start your career with them with as much of the truth you can give. Lina suggested. Well, I like hanging out with Red at Ichiraku. I also enjoy visiting Gramps, though I really wish he would stop bugging me about where I live. Naruto said as she grinned. The Hokage could not find her in his crystal ball when she shape-shifted, and all it took was ducking into cover and changing to a cat and bolting off to escape the Anbu when any were trailing her. I also like Uchiha and trying some of the things in it with red. Kakashi choked as his face grew red while Sakura scoffed and Sasuke raised an eyebrow. I hate people who think they are God's gift to this world, mostly men, and I really hate people who judge a book by the cover. I really think you should rethink that last one, Lena said as she sweat dropped. Quiet you. Naruto hushed mentally before continuing out loud. My hobbies include playing the harp, singing and reading, among other things little boys shouldn't know about. Let me at her. Sakura cried out in rage just as Sasuke grabbed the back of her shirt, keeping the pink-haired girl from attacking. And lastly, my dream for the future is already fulfilled. I have found the love of my life and I will do everything I can to protect her, no matter what. Naruto declared, her eyes serious. As if, I told you to stop involving me in your sick fantasies. Sakura snapped. And I said my girlfriend has red hair and doesn't look like a boy. Naruto snapped back. Okay, my cute little genin, looks like things are going to be interesting. Kakashi said with an eye smile, though he sounded a little worried. Tomorrow morning we will go on our first mission, a survival exercise if you will. What kind of survival exercise, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked, her curiosity overcoming her anger at the blonde. It's a test to see who will officially become a genin. You see, out of all of those who passed the exam, only 33% of you will go on to become official teams, while the rest will either go back to the academy or be drummed out of the ninja ranks altogether. Kakashi smiled. Then what the hell was the whole test thing about if we can still fail? Sakura growled out. It was to weed out the weak from the strong, but this is a test to weed out the last of the trash who should never have made it through to begin with. Kakashi said, making Naruto growl out a little. How dare this bastard call children, students who the teachers failed, trash when it was the teacher's fault most of the time for treating the ones they believed below themselves like nothing. Ignoring those students and even going so far as sabotaging their work. It wasn't right. Meet at training grounds 7 at 6 in the morning, and if I may make a suggestion, don't eat anything before or you will throw up. Sasuke and Sakura, you can go. Naruto, you stay, we have something to discuss. Looks like you're in trouble, loser. Sasuke sneered as he left, Sakura right behind him as she shot the blonde a nasty glare which Naruto more or less ignored, even though, if she allowed herself to admit, hurt just a bit. So care to tell me what you meant by those remarks about Uchiha? Kakashi asked. And I know who you are, Naru. Is some guy making you do things? Is someone abusing you? I only do what I want first of all, and second, it is none of your business what I do with my girlfriend. Naru said as she crossed her arms, giving Kakashi a small glare while trying so hard not to think about what they normally do together while she is in her poppy mask and form. Girlfriend? So you are what? Gay? Kakashi asked while cocking his head. Well, I wouldn't exactly say gay. Naru said with a blush. How the hell could she be gay and do what she's done with the man before her? Of course she hated men, or at least most of them, because of their personalities, but she could admire a good man. She could enjoy a good man and the ways he could make her feel. No, she wasn't gay, she was bi, not that she would mind being gay. If she was purely gay, then things could possibly be so much easier, yet her job could also be that much harder. If someone is hurting you, you can come to me. I'll help you. Kakashi sighed, meaning what he said. The things that his student said had worried him, as someone her age shouldn't be enjoying a book like Uchiha, much less trying the things in it. They should wait until they were much, much older. Especially this one, his teacher's only daughter and legacy. Believe me, if someone hurt me they would never be able to again. Naru said, thinking about what Rock did to the idiot who had the nerve to smack the white-haired, red-eyed girl named Orchid. If Naru was right, the bastard was still in intensive care. If someone does though, Kakashi said, I'll tell you. Naru said, cutting off Kakashi as she rolled her eyes. Now if that is everything, I have places to be. Later that night, Naru in her guise as Poppy was working the floor while flirting with the several men who was drinking heavily and enjoyed the food. She was wearing a lacy pink bra and panties with a see-through pink robe that hung open as it barely reached mid-thigh. These men wouldn't be allowed in the girls' rooms, as one of the most enforced rules are none of the clients who wish special attention are allowed to drink or enter the rooms drunk. Of course that didn't mean that there weren't men back in the rooms with some of the girls, including Cherry. A part of her flinched at that, But Poppy understood what she was, what they both were and what they did. They enjoyed their job and understood that they both would never be exclusive because of what they did, what they were. They loved each other though, and no matter who they laid with, that would never change. "Hey cutie," one of the men said as they pulled her into his lap, sitting sideways as he held her close. "Hi hun." Poppy giggled though she wanted to throw up. Some of these men were such assholes, thinking that they could do anything they wanted, rules be damned. "Would you like another drink? I'd rather have you," the man said with a grin, alcohol wafting off his breath. "I'll tell you what honey, sober up and maybe we could go upstairs and I'll show you a good time." Poppy giggles, pressing up against him and whispering into his ear. "What if I want you here and now?" the man asked, kissing her roughly. Thankfully she didn't have to worry about him as she was gently plucked off his lap and sat on the floor while Rock gave her a soft smile before turning back to the man with a feral grin. Poppy couldn't help but grin as Rock was one of the few guys she really did like. He was an exception to her rule of guys being assholes. The pleased to be let go as Rock dragged the man out of the common rooms, passing him on the way. Swallowing nervously as he came closer as she kept praying that he wouldn't come to her tonight. She didn't think she could handle it tonight. "Hey Poppy, can we talk?" Kakashi asked softly. It was obvious something was bothering him, which meant most of their time would be spent actually talking. Unlike most of her clients, not that she had a lot despite being beautiful, since this man took up a lot of her time since she started, this man enjoyed just having someone to talk to. He was someone that Poppy could like if she was more into guys and wanted a relationship with one. She didn't though, as her heart already belonged to the most wonderful person alive on this planet. "Sure thing sweetie, let me log you in and we can head on up," Poppy said, leading Kakashi over to the green-haired Ivy, who was in charge since it was Rose's night off. Normally it would be up to the guy to see her and set up an appointment so the guy could be checked out, and if there were any hints of him being abusive or hateful then they would be rejected. Kakashi had been her regular for so long now that he had not only a tab, they didn't have to wait for him to be checked out before heading up. "Hi Kakashi, it's great to see you again," Ivy said as she batted her green eyes at him, making the man blush a little. For a man who read Uchiha and spent so much time in the arms of a working girl, he was easy to fluster when around the girls at the Lotus. He wasn't as big a pervert as he acted like sometimes, he acted like one, a coping mechanism, as most seasoned jonin normally find some strange way to create an outlet for the stress the job carried. Or at least that was what Rose had explained to Poppy when asked about it. "Hi Ivy," Kakashi said with a small smile. "I have you marked down sweetie, you take good care of him Poppy," Ivy said, grinning at the two. "Don't I always?" Poppy asked with a wink before leading Kakashi through the curtains that was off limits unless you were accompanied by one of the girls. In just a few moments the two were in Poppy's room with the door unlocked as per another rule in case something happened. If one of the clients did try anything, a lock would only hamper any help to get to them, so the doors didn't have normal locks. A key needed to be used to lock the doors. "So, what did you want to do sweetie?" Poppy asked as she slipped her robe off and laid it across the back of the sole chair that was sitting near her desk. "Can we just lay down and talk for now?" Kakashi asked softly as he stripped his clothes off, including the mask, and sat them on the seat of the chair and his shoes on the floor by it. "Of course, sweetie," Poppy said, giving him an encouraging smile as she took his hand and led him to the bed where she laid down on her back and pulled him in on top of her, cradling his head on her, allowing him to use it as a pillow as she played with his hair. "You sound like something is bothering you more than normal. I'm worried about one of my female students. She's the daughter of my sensei and I never expected her to be so. She's only 15 and she seems so. She's so different from everything I read in her file." Kakashi sighed as he caressed her belly, sighing deeply. "I'm worried that someone may be abusing her. She's a lot more knowledgeable about certain things." "Sweetie, when you say certain things, do you mean?" Poppy asked, almost giggling as he really seemed worried about her over something so ridiculous. "Yes, she said she loved Uchiha and she's even tried things from it," Kakashi said. "Is it so strange that a girl that is 15 knows so much about? Is it really so strange that she seems independent and knowing what she wants?" Poppy asked softly. She wanted to laugh a little, but he really did seem upset about it if he was talking to her about it. "You know, 15 is only a year younger than me. Should I know about this stuff? Would you rather not be here with me?" "I didn't mean that. I love being here with you. You're the only one I feel I can talk to sometimes," Kakashi said, stiffening a little. It's just, I feel ashamed since I didn't know this. She was my sensei's daughter and I should have been there more for her more. Who was your sensei? Poppy asked softly, as this man really seemed to know who her father was and now would be the perfect time to find out more. Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime. Kakashi sighed before he caught himself. Shit, you can't tell anyone about this, she could be in danger if that got out. Iwa would have her head if they found out. I won't tell, Poppy replied, a little shaken. Was that true? Was her father really the fourth Hokage? Then why did everyone treat her, the real her, like trash? Hell, Poppy got more respect than Naruto or Naruto ever got from most people outside the Lotus. We both could get in trouble if you did. It doesn't matter that you know who my sensei was, but if word gets out that he had a daughter, she would be targeted by all of her father's enemies. Kakashi explained. Poppy couldn't help wonder if Kakashi knew her mother then too, but decided not to ask because she could probably find out later with a visit to the library. After all, they would have to have something saying who the Yondaime's wife was, wouldn't they? I won't. So when do you start missions? Will that mean that you will be coming in less? Poppy asked. I can't stay away from you, you know that. Kakashi said, Poppy knowing it was true as ever since the first time he came, her very first time, he always requested only her when he came in. Very rarely would he stay with any of the other girls even if it was her night off. Besides, they still had to pass the true genin exam. The true one? Poppy asked curiously, though she already knew he was going to have another test. Hell, if she could get some information from him over it, maybe she could prepare for it. I'm going to use the same test my sensei used to test our teamwork. I'll have 2 bells and tell them that they have to come at me and get one, while anyone who doesn't get one will fail. The secret is that they have to use teamwork to try and get a bell. If they show at least a little effort at working together as a team, then they pass. Kakashi said, as he started kissing her neck. So the bells don't matter? Poppy asked as she rolled her head to the side so he could kiss more of her neck. Not at all, Kakashi said as he rose up to claim her lips, letting her know that their talk was pretty much over and it was time to move on to other things. Nothing was more wonderful than waking up in the arms of your soulmate, and as usual Naruto was able to. And to make it even better, it wasn't as someone who wasn't her, it was as Naruto Uzumaki and not Rune nor Poppy, and definitely not as Naruto. The only time she could be herself was late at night after closing, when she retired to bed with a certain redhead to snuggle with. Yet as good as it felt to be herself, it still didn't compare to feeling the soft mounds of flesh against her back, an arm draped about her pulling her close as the two spooned, hot breath tickling her neck, sending a shiver of pure pleasure throughout the currently blonde body. Good morning, sleepyhead. Cherry's soft voice came, the redhead's breath against Naruto's ear as the older girl whispered. I was just about to wake you. If you don't get going, you won't have time to have breakfast and make it to your team meeting. I have plenty of time. Kakashi-sensei won't be there on time and will actually be lucky to be there within 2 hours of the time he set himself. Naruto sighed, both of the girls knowing it was true. The man, as far as they both have earned from the village and from the Hokage when the blonde asked about him, was never on time for anything except for one thing: his appointments with Poppy. You know, you two will be seeing a lot more of each other now, should I be worried? Cherry asked teasingly, though a hint of worry tinged her voice. Turning around in the slightly older girl's arms, Naruto kissed Cherry deeply, their warm breath intermingling for several moments until they had to pull back to catch their breath. You are my soulmate, Cherry. I love you and only you. Naruto said with a smile as she put as much love and assurance in her words as she could. If you want, I could quit. I actually thought about it, but I don't want to disappoint Mama and the others after all the work they put into tutoring me. If you want me to, I'll quit for you. I'd do anything for you. Then go out there and kick some ass and show them that someone from the red light can be just as good as those pompous assholes. Cherry said, smirking, her tone growing mischievous and playful. But I do have to wonder, do you have it in you? Just what can you do? It didn't take a moment for the blonde to push the redhead on her back and straddle her, pinning her arms above her head as she leaned over her, their faces mere inches apart as a blanket of blonde fell and intermixed with a sea of red. An impish grin spread across the blonde's lips as she leant down and kissed the redhead, sucking on her bottom lip as she enjoyed teasing Cherry like this. They both enjoyed toying with the other like this when they had time to themselves and were alone. Sadly, Naruto really didn't have time. I can do this? And now that I have you under my power, just what should I do with you? Naru asked as she laid down on top of the girl, their fingers interlocking, weaving together as they started into each other's eyes. As much as I'm loving this foxy girl, if you don't get ready I doubt either of us will be leaving this room for the next few hours. Cherry said, her words creating a splash of cold water as Naru cursed. If she was going to follow through with her plans for the morning she really would have to get up now despite the urge to say screw it and lose herself in her girlfriend's arms. I hate to admit it, but you're right. Naru sighed sadly. Don't worry about it love, we both have tonight off. Cherry said cupping the blonde's cheeks and leaning up for one last kiss before gently pushing the blonde back so the redhead could sit up in bed. Well, at least we could take a nice shower together since I don't have time for a good bath. Naru said wishing she did have more time. I'll wash your back, but no getting frisky foxy. Cherry said with a knowing smirk. You wound me. Naru said in mock pain as she held a hand over her heart and the other against her forehead as if she was going to swoon. As if I would do that. Foxy, I know you and I know you're close to your cycle. Cherry said giving an encouraging smile. I know how you get because of your tenant. Okay, I promise no funny business, for now. Naru agreed, realizing that Cherry was right. It was good having a girlfriend who knew everything about her including the good and the bad. While Lena provided many benefits, she also created some problems as well. Nothing too major really, but one of the drawbacks was that she only had her cycle once every 6 months for an entire week. While that sounded better than once a month, it was different for her. She had to mate during that time or she would go insane with lust and thankfully Cherry was there for her to help out as well as being with her clients. While Lena couldn't do anything about going into heat, the demoness could at least keep her from getting pregnant where normal anti-pregnancy jutsus just would not work. Of course there was also a good side, or maybe bad depending on how she was feeling or who was asked, she could only get pregnant twice a year during her week. As promised, Naru didn't do too much in the shower besides a little kissing and touching so they were done and out of Naru's personal bathroom in record time while Cherry threw on a robe and helped bind Naru's chest and helped the blonde get dressed in the horrendous orange jumpsuit that both hated. Naru used her shape-shifting skill to shorten her hair while once again refusing to change her gender. She would not let anyone know she could do that except for her family her and the Lotus so she couldn't change too much and she just did not want to cut her hair from her true form. She knew that it wouldn't be too much longer when the time came that she wouldn't be able to hide her gender behind bindings and baggy clothes and a part of her was looking forward to that day. Of course she was also a little fearful of that day too as there were many Jonin and Chunin who hated her and would possibly use her gender to hurt her in ways she didn't even want to contemplate and she knew she just wasn't strong enough yet to fight off the stronger ones. Let's go get some breakfast. Cherry said, kissing the blonde drawing her from her thoughts. I want to spend every minute of today with you, but I can't if I really do want to pass. As it is we have no way in hell of passing. Naru sighed. I can see it in your eyes, you have a plan. Cherry said with a smirk, need help setting it up? Planning to pull some kick-ass pranks again? No pranks, but you can help me make a picnic breakfast for 3. Naru said with a smile making Cherry arch an eyebrow in curiosity. 15 minutes later than the time Team 7 was scheduled to meet, Naru came walking up to the field carrying a large picnic basket while ignoring her 2 teammates as they started at her as if she was stupid. Carefully the blonde spread out a blanket and placed the basket near her as she kneeled down at the edge of the blanket and started to unpack what could be called a feast. Plates of egg salad sandwiches, bacon, sausage, pancakes that were somehow still steaming hot, salads topped with thick luscious slices of tomato that drew Sasuke's attention, and fruit salad that Sakura looked at as her own mouth began watering. Good morning Uchiha, Haruno. Naru greeted respectfully while both Lena and herself gagged mentally. Please, dig in, what are you up to? Sakura asked suspiciously as she watched the blonde set 3 glasses out and poured fresh orange juice from a thermos. Sit and eat and I will explain. Naru said with a sweet smile though she was starting to get pissed. She could be patient at times, but not when dealing with assholes and idiots. Maybe knock them out and replace them with hanged shadow clones. Lena suggested which for a moment Naru actually considered. It wouldn't work though since the shadow clones would poof out in one hit plus their henge would be an actual henge since they don't have Kyuubi in them, just whatever chakra they were created with. Idiot, didn't you hear what sensei said? He said we shouldn't eat before the test. Sasuke snorted in disdain at the blonde as Sakura was inching slowly toward the blanket before stopping at Sasuke's words. No, he phrased it as a suggestion. Both of you should know better than to just blindly follow orders. Remember, ninja need to look underneath the underneath. We are having a test this morning, and if we don't eat then we are going to be distracted during it making it. Naru explained slowly and quietly while avoiding putting any irritation in her voice. Harder to pass. Kakashi set us up to make the test harder. Sakura said slowly, realization dawning on both of them what the blonde was saying and shocked that Naru was right. I guess even idiots can be right at time, Naruto. Sasuke sneered as he sat down and took a plate dishing out some salad and taking several of the sandwiches with a little bacon. Sakura too some fruit salad while Naru took a little of everything. After all Jinchuriki had a ridiculously high metabolism that required large amounts of food while never gaining much weight from it as it was next to impossible. Of course they wouldn't starve very easily either as most of the Jinchuriki's tenants provided some accelerated healing which kept their hosts from dying though they couldn't keep up a very healthy body without the nutrition gained from food. This is really nice of you, Naruto. Sakura said with a little surprise, did you make all this? Actually, my girlfriend helped me make most of this. Naruto said as she finished off a link of sausage. The blonde mentally smirked when the pink-haired girl looked a little shocked and didn't reply to it. Leaning forward, she whispered quietly, I need to tell you two something and I need you to keep an open mind while keeping it quiet so Kakashi-sensei doesn't hear us if he comes up. What is it, idiot? Sasuke asked, though it was obviously he was paying close attention. Do not ask how, but I found out what this test is and if we don't work together then we will fail. It's a test to see if we can work together or not as a genin squad and if we can't then we will be sent back to the academy. Naru whispered as Sasuke scoffed. Teamwork, it's about teamwork. It makes sense since that is what Konoha is known for. Sakura said slowly earning a glare from Sasuke, though he didn't say anything else as he appeared to listen. I don't know how long we have so we need to work up a plan. Naru sighed. I can tell you that he will bring 2 bells and tell us that we need to get one to pass and the one who doesn't will fail. It's a lie, as long as we show that we can work together and show the proper maturity that a genin team should have, we will all pass. How do you know all of this? Sasuke asked with suspicion. I have my ways and I already know what you are going to say, Sakura. If you two are worried about still needing the bells then if we do manage to get them you two can have them. Naru said, we need a plan though, and it should be simple. I suggest that when he tells us to start you two rush off to hide while I distract him. Sasuke can circle around and attack from behind and while we are distracting him, Sakura can snag the bells. Well, you three look pretty cozy. Kakashi said making the 3 jump and look up to see the one-eyes man coming toward them over the small bridge and onto the field belonging to Training Ground 7. I thought I told you 3 not to eat. No, you suggested we not eat. You didn't make it an order, and even if you did, frankly that would be bullshit. We are going into an unknown situation and if we do so with empty stomachs then we could get distracted by our hunger and potentially die. Naru explained earning an eye smile from the cycloptic Jonin. Good job, Naruto. Kakashi said as the blonde took a swig of juice. It looks like you 3 are having a good start this morning. Following orders blindly can and possibly will get you killed. Remember that you 3 have minds of your own, use them. Are you saying we shouldn't obey our superiors? Sakura asked, paling at the thought of getting in trouble if they followed that advice. No, you should follow orders while ready to adapt to them as the situation is often different than reported. Also, you shouldn't blindly follow orders that don't make sense or doesn't sit right with you. No one will hurt you for asking questions, you're genin and that is how you learn. Kakashi lectured as he put 3 bento-boxed lunches down on a stump while holding up an alarm clock. You 3 have 5 minutes to finish breakfast, then you have until noon to finish your test. Kakashi said motioning to 2 bells hanging from his belt making Sakura and Sasuke go wide-eyed and whip their heads around to a sweat-dropping blonde earning a glare from Kakashi. Your test is to get a bell from me, the 2 that manages it get to stay and become my new cute lil genin. The one who fails gets tied to a post while we eat in front of you. Oh, you will have to come at me with intent to kill or you will never succeed. What if we hurt you? Sakura asked as her eyes whipped back around in shock to stare at their sensei. He's a jonin, Sakura, he won't be hurt by mere genin. Naru said, earning looks of surprise from her teammates and appraisal from Kakashi. Not that you're normal. Lena giggled in Naru's mind, earning a mental smirk from the blonde. If she called up the fox's power she could maybe go all out, but it was hard to do. She was still learning just to call up one tail and could only to when really pissed off. Fear, calm, excitement wouldn't give her the adrenaline needed. Of course, it could be a bad thing to use it because it was too easy to give in to the rage it created within her. Lena was nice and loving, but she was a demon still and her demonic chakra wasn't exactly easy to control without losing oneself in the negative emotions it evoked. And Blondie has earned a cookie. Kakashi said with growing suspicion in his voice as Sasuke and Sakura finished and stood up. The three stared in horror at the blonde as she finished the large amount of food that was left in a blur, not even taking 30 seconds. What? I was hungry. Naru whined as Sakura looked on in disgust. That was so gross. Sakura said, making Naru send the girl a glare but kept her mouth shut despite the visions of a chibi Naru jumping up and down on a bloody and battered pink-haired girl. Well, let's get this over with, Naru said as she folded up the blanket and stuffed it in the basket and sitting it out of the way so it didn't get damaged. Okay, remember you have until noon as of right now, Kakashi said, setting the clock and putting it on the stump as he walked out into the middle of the field followed by the blonde while the other two jumped off into the trees. Aren't you going to follow your friends? Kakashi asked, making Naru sneer mentally. Friends? As if they were just a means for her to become what was needed to better protect herself when she could no longer hide her true gender from the populace as well and protect her soulmate. Why do you want me to leave, Kakashi-sensei? Naru pouted, batting her eyes at Kakashi, who pulled out a familiar book from its pouch. Don't you want me to become one of your cute genin? And why are you reading that thing again in public? Because I want to finish it so I can pick up the new volume on the way home and read it tonight, Kakashi said with a lecherous grin. No, I don't think that's it, Kakashi-sensei, Naru said with a teasing smile as she circled around Kakashi several times while looking him up and down. I think you are reading it, imagining that you are the hero in the book while I am the helpless heroine rewarding you for your help. Is that it, sensei? Are you thinking of doing all kinds of little things to me in that dirty mind of yours? Choking as he paled, staring at the blonde girl disguised as a boy stopped in front of him, hands held behind her back as she leaned forward a little. A little dark spot forming in his mask where his nose was that was barely noticeable, but enough to make Naru grow a little shocked. Was that really what he was thinking? That pervert. Again, you might want to rethink that. Lena giggled as she pointed out that it was the blonde who just stuck those ideas in her sensei's head. Shush. Naru mentally hushed the demoness from distracting her while giggling a bit herself. Okay, I think it might be best to stop reading for now, Kakashi said a little shakily while putting the book into his pouch. You know, for a brat, you have a really dirty mind. Thank you, I'll take that as a compliment, Naru chirped happily while Kakashi narrowed his eye at her. That wasn't a compliment, Kakashi spluttered indignantly, barely dodging the punch aimed at his head from the blonde as she started to attack him using a taijutsu style that he recognized as one of the more abstract forms that he had seen Guy use from time to time. It was fast, agile and a very good match for the blonde's lithe body. Funny, it sounded like one, Naru quipped as she ducked and weaved around Kakashi's defenses while striking out, though only managing to land a few hits that the man allowed through his defenses. Fire release. Great fireball technique. Sasuke's voice cried from behind Kakashi just before a wave of heat washed over the dueling pair, the blonde's eyes going wide at seeing over the Jonin's shoulder in shock at the huge fireball streaking towards them. Oh shit, Naru cried out as she jumped away followed by Kakashi just before the fireball hit the ground, tearing into it before dying out leaving a smoking, smoldering crater behind. I said attack with a jutsu, not try and fucking cook us. What the hell? Kakashi said, eye wide staring between the blonde and Sasuke before snatching a hand that was snaking for his belt from behind as questions flew through his mind. They were talking about something before he came. Could they have actually been planning this from the start? And if so, how the hell did they know that the test would be a fight, and how did they plan enough to have Sakura go for the bells? You said come at you with intent to kill. Sasuke grunted. I'm not talking about that, Kakashi said, shaking his head, letting go of Sakura's hand as he jumped a few feet away from all three of his students. Even if he felt something was up with just how well they seemed to have things planned out, He was proud that they were working together as a team. Forget it, just continue with the test. Break up and meet back up in the forest. Naru called out, making Kakashi narrow his eyes as the pink-haired girl and emo boy jump off while he blocked the blonde's path. Naru was the ringleader behind everything and he wanted answers. So tell me, Blondie, did you know exactly what was going to happen today? Kakashi probed as he went on the offensive, pulling out a kunai to block the pair that Naru pulled out, the girl using both blades to strike at him in a beautiful dance of violence. Maybe I did and maybe I didn't. Naru giggled as she slashed and parried with her kunai, though she wasn't gaining much ground. Does it matter? No, I have already made my decision about you three. I do want to keep testing you though and just see how each of you do on your own. Kakashi said with an eye smile before vanishing in a puff of smoke, making the blonde choke on it a little while looking around for him. Too late to do anything once she found him crouched behind her holding a tiger seal before shoving his finger in her ass. That bastard. Konoha's secret technique, 1,000 years of death. A seething Naru landed hard on the ground, her eyes a little watery from the embarrassment and anger that the man would dare do that to her. She may have been a working girl, but no one, touched her without her permission in such an intimate way. Forcing herself to calm down just a little while her fox cloak tried to flicker around her, she accepted her claws, red slitted eyes and darker whiskers the first state brought, the second state being the one-tailed fox cloak. You bastard! Naru shrieked, rocketing across the clearing at a shocked Jonin, to Sasuke and Sakura, it looking like she was crouching one moment and the next she was holding her fist out as the Jonin skipped across the ground, his body leaving a small trench. You dare touch me like that? I should really kill you for that. Naru, calm down. Kakashi said as Naru seemingly vanished again to reappear with her leg extended into the air as Kakashi rocked into the sky from her kick before she jumped, vanishing and reappearing above him to do an axe kick, rocketing him into the ground, creating another crater from the impact. She landed on top of him, her claws wrapped around his throat while he looked up, pleading her to calm down with his eye. Please calm down, don't let it take over. As if Lena isn't controlling me. Naru snarled as she leaned down, yanking his mask down and kissing him deeply before jumping back as she let the effects of the first state fade. She was a little pissed at herself because she could feel herself losing control from using Lena's chakra that eroded her self-control as she was so close to heat as it was, her body already feeling the effects of it. What the hell was that? Sakura asked in shock while Sasuke gave the disguised blonde a disgusted look while Kakashi stumbled to his feet. Naru knew that Kakashi could have put up a much better fight, even subdue her, but he was trying to give her a chance to fight off what he believed was the fox taking over. Here, Naru said, handing each of her teammates a bell, making them gawk at her. What? I was just distracting him with the most shocking thing I could think of while I grabbed the bells. Call it payback. Whatever you call it, Kakashi said with an eye smile, his mask back in place before his other two students got a good look at his face. You three pass. Yes, true love conquers all. Sakura cheered while Sasuke grunted and Kakashi and Naru looked at each other, almost in a challenging way. Come over here. Kakashi sighed, breaking the staring contest, making the blonde mentally smirk at winning it. Think he's going to show us the stone? Lena asked, a little sorrow broadcasting to Naru. The demon knew what was on the stone. Many of the names her fault from when that bastard Uchiha cast the genjutsu over her, taking over her mind with hate and rage and sicking her on the village while all rational though was locked away. It wasn't your fault, so don't worry about it. Naru replied, thinking about who had stopped the demon fox while at the same time sealing Lena away inside of her by the blonde's own father. Thinking about that, she couldn't help thinking that her father did both Lena and her a favor, as the demon fox enjoyed much more freedom than either of her previous hosts while they became best of friends. In fact, when the fox wasn't teasing her, Lena could be almost motherly at times. Taking a deep sigh as she listened to the explanation, stepping forward almost automatically as she found a name she was searching for. Slowly she reached up and ran a finger over the name of Minato Namikaze, earning a strange look from Kakashi. As the man cleared his throat, Naru yanked her hand back as if it was burned. I have one last thing to tell you three before you are dismissed for the day. It is a very important piece of advice that I learned the hard way and I want you to take it to heart. Those who abandon a mission may be trash, but those who abandon their friends and teammates are worse than trash. Think about that tonight and meet back here at the same time tomorrow for our first official mission as Team 7. Kakashi said as he stared at the blonde. Sasuke, Sakura, you are both dismissed. Naruto, I need to talk to you again. I want to know how you found out about the test. Later, loser, and thank you. Sasuke said, whispering the last as he almost didn't even want to say it. Sasuke, wait up. Sakura called after she gave the blonde a strange, almost thankful look before hurrying off. Actually, I have a lot of questions for you. Kakashi said, leading Naru over to a post and told her to sit, which she did. On top of it as she sat cross-legged with her elbows propped on her knees and resting her chin in her hands. Look, I won't tell you who told me, but I will say that you should change your methods between years. Really, you failed how many teams with the same exact test? Naru asked, a look of relief flooding Kakashi's lone visible eye. Okay, well, why was you looking at that one particular name? Kakashi asked, looking deep into Naru's eyes as she thought for a moment about how to answer since she was sure he would be able to tell if she was lying at. He may not catch all of the lie, but surely he would notice a little. Well, have you ever looked at a picture of us side by side? We look so much alike, making me think, especially after what he did the night of the Kyuubi attack, as I doubt he would have sealed her in just any baby, that he may be my father. I might be wrong, but I'd rather hope that I'm right. I want to believe that I came from somewhere. Naru sighed, all of it true. You called the fox her? And you said Lena earlier? Kakashi said, making Naru groan as she really wished he hadn't caught on to that. How the hell was she supposed to tell him about Lena? Want to have some fun? Lena asked, a demented gleam in her mental eyes making Naru smirk, already knowing what Lena wanted to do. Jumping down from the stump, she did the hand seals for a summoning jutsu. While Lena was trapped in Naru, she could be summoned outside of the seal just as any summoning could be summoned from their realm. After all, she was a demon just like any summons, though she was much more powerful than those minor demons that the humans deluded themselves into believing they weren't. Seriously, they were talking animals, how could they not be demons? Seriously, a contract signed in blood, hello people, they're demons. Of course they are, silly little things humans are. Hey, I'm human. Naru protested mentally. Of course you are, and I love you for it. Lena said lovingly as Naru pulled the chakra needed as Lena prepared for the slight wave of dizziness this would cause. Unlike being summoned from the other realms, being summoned through the seal was annoying, and a part of Lena would always stay behind inside of the blonde. In a way, this could be seen as a shadow clone in a way, though she couldn't be dispelled so easily and she could die outside of the seal and lose what power that body had. If she was dispelled by Naru though, even when hurt, she would quickly heal inside of the blonde's body, as there she didn't have a physical manifestation anyways. Kachiyose no jutsu. Naru cried, slamming her palm into the ground, making lines spread out around her in a summoning array. A large poof of smoke appeared, leaving a very voluptuous red-haired woman with red slitted eyes wearing a very tight, very revealing black mini-dress with a single foxtail and fox ears standing next to Naru as Kakashi's jaw dropped at the vision of beauty before him before his mind rebooted, realizing this was the Kyuubi no Kitsune itself, herself. Naru, what the hell did you do? Kakashi gasped as he drew a kunai, moving to attack, though Lena easily batted the blade from his hand, knocking him to the ground, making Naru realize just what the hell she did do. She wasn't the only one going into heat, so was Lena, since the demon was the one who caused Naru's own, not to mention all of the other biological changes. The blonde wasn't sure what to think as Kakashi was knocked to the ground, the woman straddling him and pinning his arms down. Naru, run, alert the Anbu. Kakashi called out, struggling under the intense strength of the woman who pouted out him. Both teacher and student sweat dropped at the demoness's reaction though. Oh Kakashi, don't be like that. Lena mock cried, leaning down and rubbing her body against his, rubbing her cheek against Kakashi's masked face. You look so much better in person. I just want to ravish you right here and now. Ahem. A familiar sound of a throat clearing from behind them to find a blushing Hokage looking on, decked out in his battle armor and surrounded by his personal Anbu. Hi Gramps, Naru said as she swallowed nervously, looking like she was caught with her hand in the cookie jar. Care to explain what your tenant is doing molesting your teacher? Hiruzen asked, chuckling at the scene of Lena sitting onto of Kakashi rubbing up against him almost in a loving animalistic action. Like a cat seeking attention, though the attention she wanted was so much more than innocent. Well, you see, it's like this. Naru said, sending the command to Lena, who poofed away, leaving behind a small one-tailed fox that Naru grabbed and bolted from the clearing. Catch her and bring her back to my office, unharmed. If a single hair is out of place, you all will be visiting Ibiki. Is that clear? Here is an order getting a yes, Lord Hokage, from the entire group before they jumped away. What the hell? Kakashi asked, sitting up, his face as red as a tomato as a small trickle of blood leaked from his nose as he tried to cross his arms over his lap to hide his discomfort there. Let's head back to my office and we can hear what young Naru has to say when she's brought back. Hiruzen said, a smirk on his face as he brushed a little blood from his own nose. Care to explain just what the hell happened back there? Hiruzen asked as he took a long drag on his pipe and exhaled some of the sweet yet disgusting smelling smoke that. What about? Naru asked cheekily while idly scratching the ears of the fox currently sitting in her lap. She had almost made it in her escape if she didn't trip over the little brat known as the Hokage's grandson. Okay, usually she liked the little brat for the most part, but when she turned her head to stick her tongue out at her pursuers, she tumbled over the scarf-wearing brat, which allowed the Anbu to grab her and drag her back to the tower while she whined about how unfair it was that she was caught because of interference. She demanded that they release her and catch her on their own if their slow asses could. How about we start with why your tenant is not only a fox in your lap at the moment but why it was a she molesting your teacher? Hiruzen asked with a small chuckle while Kakashi stood nervously behind the Hokage, tense as he watched the fox in the girl's lap that looked up at him and licked its lips. Fine, but only if I can go soon since I'm already going to be late for a date. Naru sighed. Oh, so you have a boyfriend? Hiruzen asked as his curiosity piqued. Half of the young blonde's life was a mystery to him as she had somehow found a way to hide herself from his scrying, and it bothered him that she refused to tell. Of course he could see her point of being safer that way, because if he couldn't find her then no one else could either to hurt her. Not exactly, Rune said, fidgeting. As much as a smartass she was, she did love and for the most part respect the old man. He was still a dirty old man, but he was her dirty old man that she saw as a grandfather, and he was one of the few she would normally be respectful to. At least to some degree. Of course that didn't mean that she didn't tease him from time to time or let her mouth get the better of her. Right now wasn't one of those times though, as she could see how serious the old man was despite his jovial attitude. Ah, so the red-haired girl I've seen you with then is more than a friend? Hiruzen asked, grinning a little. It's good to know that you found someone who cares about you. But let's get back on subject, shall we? What is the Kyuubi doing out of the seal? Fine. I can summon the Kyuubi and give her as much power as I want from 1 tail to 9, though she says to never give her that many unless it is an emergency because it could be damaging to both of us. Naru explained, it works just like summoning any other demon from the Makai realms. How do you know how demons are usually summoned? Hiruzen slowly asked, is she trying to get you to summon other demons? That's rich. Naru giggled, you both are summoners and you don't even know what you summon. We don't summon demons, Naru. I hold the monkey contract and Kakashi has the dog contract. They're summon animals, not demons. Hiruzen said, though he looked at the fox. Oh please old man, are you really that dense? The fox asked as she looked up at the two men. Your summons may be weaker demons unable to take a human form, but they are still demons. Kakashi, why don't you summon Pakun and we can settle this? Hiruzen sighed, rubbing his temples. He had a bad feeling about this though the more he thought about it. Why hadn't anyone ever thought about this before other than just accepting them as summons animals? Yes, Lord Hokage. Kakashi said, for once his nose not in his book as he bit his thumb then did the seals before slamming his palm in the ground, creating a plume of smoke, leaving the cute little pug standing there. Oi, Kakashi, what you need? I was just getting ready to take a nap. The dog mumbled. So cute. Naru squealed out as Lena jumped to the ground so Naru can skid across the ground on her knees and pick up the adorable dog and crush him to her chest before rubbing her cheek against his. See Kakashi, chicks dig me. I'm cute and they all want to touch my paw. It's so soft, Pakun said. It isssss. Naru cried out in surprise, feeling the pads on his paw. Ahem. Hiruzen cleared his throat and Naru vanished, leaving the dog to plop onto the ground as she reappeared back in her chair with Fox in her lap, having to grab Lena before she tackled Kakashi in her fox form. Now that introductions are over, Pakun, can you explain to young Naru and her companion that summons such as yourself aren't demons? Of course I'm not a demon. Pakun said smugly, I'm a minor half-breed demon. What? Both Hiruzen and Kakashi cried out as their jaws dropped. Really boys, contract signed in blood, talking animals with what could be seen as magical powers. What the hell did you expect? Lena giggled as she changed back to human, making Pakun bow to her. Lady Inverse, I didn't know you were here. Pakun said, bowing low. Don't be like that, child, you know I hate formalities. Lena said as she started edging to Kakashi before Naru sighed and released her just as she dove for the masked ninja, making her vanish in a plume of smoke just before tackling Kakashi. Ah, the Lady Inverse is in heat. Pakun said, nodding his head sagely. Kakashi, you lucky devil. To have someone such as her wanting to mate with you, damn, I would kill to trade places with you. What? The two men gawked, their minds still not rebooting from the information that was revealed to them. It's simple. Naru sighed. The Kyuubi calls herself Lena Inverse, a name she took from her favorite avatar when they merged centuries ago when they saved the world. Said Kyuubi is also a female demon that goes into heat twice a year and gets a very bad urge to mate with someone she finds attractive. And guess what, sensei, she wants you. Aren't you just so lucky? So she isn't corrupting you? Hiruzen asked. No. Naru replied easily while thinking, not any more than usual anyways. I still want to have your seal looked at, but Jiraiya hasn't arrived yet and he was supposed to be here. Kakashi, can you at least look at it and see what you think? Hiruzen asked, rubbing his head. Just hurry, please. Naru sighed as she unzipped her jacket and pulled the sleeves off, letting it droop as she pulled her black shirt up so her stomach would be visible while not uncovering her bound S. Kakashi ran his hand along her stomach, feeding chakra into the seal, making it glow. Sensei, if you keep that up I will end up having to charge you. Naru said almost breathlessly as she let out a soft moan, making Kakashi yank his hand back as if he had been burned, with a blush coloring his face. You are going to be the death of me. Kakashi sighed. The seal is holding strong and I'm pretty sure Jiraiya will tell you the same. Good, can I go then? Naru asked. Yes, but remember to meet back here in 1 week first thing in the morning for class. Hiruzen sighed as he looked over to the dog who was watching them with a bored expression. Kakashi and myself have some things we need to discuss. Class? But I graduated. Naru whined out. You didn't tell her? Hiruzen groaned. I was planning on telling Sakura and her tomorrow after missions. After all, we will have to at the least let the girls in on Naru's true gender. Kakashi said slowly. Like hell we will. Naru snarled. She didn't grow up having to hide as a damned boy, going to the academy as a damned boy, just to blow her cover now when she knew she couldn't protect herself from the stronger members of her hate club. Naru, these are special classes for kunoichi only. The civilian council screwed up the academy curriculum, and since until the students graduate there is very little I can do about it until the students pass and become ninja, which is under my jurisdiction. All kunoichi will go through seduction and interrogation classes in case you are ever caught. Any kunoichi who refuses will not be allowed to take anything above a D rank mission and will not be eligible for advancement in rank. Hiruzen sighed as he really didn't want Naru to go through the classes. They were necessary though, because if a kunoichi isn't ready for what could happen to them on the field, then they could at a much higher risk of being broken by some of the more cruel interrogators if caught by an enemy. Plus many kunoichi were giving infiltration missions that required sharing a bed with their target. The ninja world was an ugly place, one that he wished he could keep his granddaughter away from, but it was her choice and it was his responsibility to make sure she was ready for it along with every other member under his command. It isn't fair. What if everyone finds out that I'm a girl? Naru asked, her eyes tearing up a bit as she shook. She wasn't sure why she was acting like this. She was used to the things a kunoichi would be faced with already. She just didn't want everyone to know yet, despite wanting to stop hiding her true self from the world. She was the daughter of the 4th Hokage and should be seen as a hero, not as some freak and monster that everyone hated. Sweetie, I already thought about all of this. I will make sure the girls who will be joining you in these classes will understand what an S-rank secret is and will also understand the consequences of what happens to those who tell about it. I have also already contracted a new impartial place to hold these classes where you won't be judged and your identity will remain a secret. Hiruzen explained. Whatever, are we done? Naru asked, feeling hurt and angry as she yanked the jacket back on and zipped it up. For now, yes. Have a good time on your date. Hiruzen said, giving her a smile while Naru glared back, all the while ignoring Lena's begging to let her back out and at Kakashi. It was too late to go all the way home and shower and change before meeting up with Cherry at Ichiraku, so Naru just headed straight there. Thankfully Cherry was waiting outside, still wearing a beautiful black Chinese cheongsam that hugged all of her curves, the skirt having high slits cut on both sides and pink sakura blossom designs throughout while wearing heels. Naru froze when she landed before Cherry while staring at the girl in awe, a part of her wondering how she did deserve to have someone this perfect, this beautiful love her. "There you are," Cherry said happily while drawing the blonde into a hug and deep kiss that had many people looking their way, some in jealousy and others in disgust. Of course, one specific screech broke the two out of their loving embrace. "You pervert," Sakura screeched as she stomped up to the pair ready to hit Naru. "What the hell is your problem?" Cherry demanded, catching Sakura's fist, as it was pretty easy as Sakura was still no better than a civilian despite going through the academy, while all the girls at the Lotus was required to go through Ha self-defense class taught by Orchid herself. That pervert was making a scene. Sakura hissed, making Cherry let the pink-haired girl's hand go before slapping her hard. "Don't you dare insult her in front of me again. And what we decide to do isn't any of your business, you stupid little bitch. If I ever see you trying anything like this again, I'll kick your fucking ass." Cherry growled out before taking Naru's hand and dragging the blonde off. Cherry knew Naru could take care of herself, more so than Cherry could honestly, but the redhead would always stand up for her soulmate. "You know you didn't have to do that." Naru sighed as they slowed down, not wanting to stay near the pink-haired banshee. "I know, I wanted to. You do so much for me, it's the least I can do to stand up for you, and I always will," Cherry said, pulling Naru close, the two staring into each other's eyes while holding on to one another. "Thank you," Naru sighed, happy that someone she loved really did and really would always be there for her. "Kiss already," a voice cheered, causing them to jump slightly apart before looking up to see a purple-haired woman with a dark-haired woman with red eyes that Naru recognized as Hinata's teacher. "Anko," Kurenai snapped, slapping the back of Anko's head, who pouted slightly. "What?" Anko asked teasingly. "I'm sorry about my friend, she can be excitable at times." Kurenai said, "To make it up for you, why don't you join us for dinner?" "What do you think?" Cherry asked, taking Naru's hand, the blonde nodding a little hesitantly at first. "Sure, I guess it couldn't hurt," Naru said as they followed Kurenai and Anko into a restaurant while ignoring the looks they got. They didn't even notice a blonde-haired girl watching them carefully while trying to hide. "Excuse me, but we don't serve his kind here," a waiter said, coming up to the table. Before Naru had a chance to respond, the man had a kunai held to his balls courtesy of a seated Anko across from Cherry and Naru and next to Kurenai. "Well, unless you want to become more like him than you ever dreamed of, I suggest you bring plenty of dango and sake. And if anything is wrong with our food, you better pray that my snakes don't find you, because you won't have yours anymore once they do," Anko said with a seductive voice and cold, hard eyes. "Wow, thank you," Naru said, a little shocked as the man stumbled off devoid of any color. No one that she had just met had ever stuck up for her like that before. "Let's just say that us girls have to stick together," Kurenai said with a soft smile. "Girl?" Naru asked as she shifted nervously, since she was hiding as a boy at the moment. In other words, she was still wearing her horrendous orange baggy jumpsuit and S-bound tightly. "Don't play that way, Blondie. We all know you aren't packing a snake," Anko said with a grin, making Naru blush a little, surprising Cherry. The girl who made it an art to tease was actually on the receiving end for once. "Order up," the man said, bringing back several huge trays of dango and several bottles of sake. He was pale and still shaking while keeping an eye on Anko. When he finished unloading, Anko reached into her coat, making the man scream like a little girl, and ran away, making the woman giggle as she pulled out some money. "Guess he didn't want a tip." Anko grinned. "At least not from your kunai." Naru giggled a little. "So just how many people know about me?" "A lot of Anbu, actually, kid. We had to know who and what we were protecting," Anko said, taking a bottle of sake for herself and taking a swig from it. "That can't be right," Naru said, paling. "If so many people knew, then not everyone hates you, kid. In fact, most of the actual shinobi force respects you for keeping us safe. It's the rejects from the academy and the one or two rare idiots that let civilians talk them into hating you that doesn't like you." Anko explained. What about the academy? Naru swallowed, wondering if she would have to watch her back more than usual now. Ever hear of the saying, those who can't teach? Anko asked. That is more than true of the academy. Thanks to the idiots on the Civi Council, the academy was stripped of its most important lessons and they put their own teachers in place there. Many of them aren't even shinobi and only teaches from the book. It's why there were teacher aides that taught the actual shinobi shit. Language Anko. Kurenai admonished. Oh, don't worry, Naru has said a lot worse. Cherry giggled, earning a whine from Naru. I think we're going to get along fine, brats. Anko laughed. Cherry loved Naru, she really and truly did, but she was wondering if at that very moment she should strangle the blonde. Really, she was on her knees, bent over, panting heavily as she moaned out. Thankfully Naru was holding her hair as she heaved more of her dinner up before groaning out a sickly, how the hell can you drink so much and not get sick? Lena keeps me from getting drunk, sadly. I always wanted to see what it's like. Naru said softly while rubbing Cherry's back. The two had dinner with Anko and Kurenai and the four actually hit it off pretty well, though Cherry wondered if they would still have become friends if they knew what Naru and herself did for a living. Well, Cherry anyways, since Naru had a second job now. The four was actually pretty close in personality, or Kurenai and Cherry was, while Naru was more like Anko. At first Kurenai was against them drinking some of the sake Anko ordered, but Naru assured them that she couldn't get drunk thanks to her tenant, while it wouldn't be their first time Cherry had enjoyed a good drink. Only now she was in the bathroom throwing up everything she had that day when she should have been in bed making love to Naru, as had been their plan all week. At least they had two brand new friends that truly liked them for them, though they still didn't know what Naru and Cherry did or where they lived. I'm so sorry. Cherry groaned, we should be in bed right now. Don't worry about it, beautiful, I just want you to feel better. Naru said, kissing the top of her head. After you feel like you have everything up, we can lay in bed and I'll hold you while you rest up. Do you have any idea how much I love you? Cherry moaned out before heaving again. Hopefully as much as I love you. Naru said softly while patting Cherry's back. She truly did love Cherry with all her heart and she would do anything for the redhead. It didn't matter that they wouldn't get a chance to make love as long as they could spend the night together. It didn't matter if it was holding the redhead's hair or anything else. Then again, she would like it if she could end the pain for the girl and take away her nausea. If I ever try to drink again, stop me. Cherry sighed as she fell back on her knees and leaned against Naru. You know I would never do that. Well, spank maybe. Naru said in a teasing tone. How about this, if you try to put more of that stuff in your mouth I give you something better. Say my tongue. A kiss sounds good. Cherry grinned as she snuggled up to Naru a little while praying that her offerings to the porcelain goddess was over with for the night. Late again, huh? Naru sighed as she joined her teammates at Training Ground 7. HN. Sasuke grunted, though annoyance could be heard in the monosyllable replay as Sakura looked up with a strange look. Who was that girl you were with last night? Sakura asked, anger lacing her voice as she got up from where she was sitting next to Sasuke to stop over to the blonde. My girlfriend, Naru said proudly. As if, you could never get a girl like that. You're just a worthless nobody that someone felt sorry for, which is the only reason you passed. Sakura said with a sneer. Now that isn't really very nice, Sakura. Kakashi said, surprising the two because he seemed to just appear next to them, making the two girls jump away from each other a little. They were also surprised he was there as they all half expected him to be extremely late. You're late, Sakura cried out, pointing at him despite him actually only be a few minutes late, unlike the several hours he had been late on both their team introductions and exam. Yes I am. Kakashi smirked as he reached for his pouch holding his favorite book before glancing at the blonde and swallowing hard, letting his hand drop lifelessly at his side. Anyways, I have our first mission. Is it something exciting? Kill some bandits? Protect a princess? Seduce and assassinate some monstrous tyrant? Naru asked excitedly. Actually, our first mission is walking the Inuzuka's dogs. We need to do a certain number of D ranks before we can do any higher ranked missions. Kakashi said with an eye smile. Of course it disappeared when Naru grabbed his shirt and yanked him down eye level with her. If you fuck with this Kakashi-sensei, I might have to hurt you. Naru growled out, her eyes blazing into his lone eye before they softened and turned impish. Of course, if you do as good, maybe I'll do you really good. Naruto. Sakura screeched, hitting Naru over the head and knocking her to the ground where she held the lump on her head and whined. Don't threaten Kakashi-sensei. Show him some respect. No one noticed how pale Kakashi was or the little darkening spot in his mask under his nose before shaking his head, clearing it. Well, everyone except Naru, who really didn't see it, but she knew what his reaction was going to be. Do we have to walk dogs though? Sakura asked nervously. She knew how big the full-grown dogs were and she so didn't want near the smelly, ugly beast. What's the matter, Sakura? Naru asked as she sat up on her knees and rubbed her head. Afraid they will see how big a bitch you are and want to keep you. I'll show you who's a bitch. Sakura snarled as she dived to hit Naru again, who dodged and began running around the field dodging Sakura's wild punches. Now, you two. Teammates shouldn't fight. Kakashi sighed as he grabbed Sakura's arm as she passed by him. Naru, you should stop teasing your teammates. Whatever. Naru grumbled as she crossed her arms. She didn't intend to stop harassing the two idiots and Kakashi. Looking up at Sasuke, she couldn't help but gawk a little as his lips were twitching, trying to form into a smile or fight off a laugh. Maybe, just maybe, the Uchiha didn't have a stick so far up his ass that he needed surgery to remove it. Maybe it could just be yanked out. Painfully, of course. Sasuke, you can go for the day since I need to have a talk with your teammates. Kakashi said as Sakura collapsed on the ground out of breath while Naru Simple sat a few feet away. Sasuke just grunted. Same time tomorrow, though be ready for training after lunch. Sasuke grunted again before walking off. Now you two, as much as I want to say something about the way you have been acting, I have some news for you. There are some mandatory classes that you both have to take beginning next week. Instead of reporting for team training, you will report to the Hokage's office. Kakashi explained. What about Sasuke? He deserves the extra training more than this failure of a loser. Sakura whined. Because only certain genin are chosen for this class, and as good as Sasuke is, he is not suited for these classes. Kakashi explained. You are not to talk with anyone about these classes, especially Sasuke. Am I understood, Sakura? Why yes, sensei. Sakura said nervously at the hard glare he was sending her. This and anything you learn at the classes is also an S-class secret, Sakura. This is not a game. You are a shinobi now and you will act like one and face the consequences if you divulge sensitive information. Kakashi said coldly, his expression completely serious, which surprised even Naru. She shouldn't be. She knew this man was a goofball, but he was a powerful and respected shinobi. Consequences? Sakura gulped. You will be executed, no questions asked. Kakashi said, making Sakura pale. If you can't handle this, then quit now, Sakura. We don't need shinobi who aren't trustworthy. I can handle it, Sakura said, though her voice was unsteady. Good, now I have to report to the Hokage, but before you two leave you are to sit here for 20 minutes and work out whatever problems you have between you. Kakashi said before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Instead of going to the Hokage, though, he hid in the trees close enough to hear, but not close enough to be detected. After a while, though, he was getting worried when the girls didn't say anything until finally Sakura broke the silence. Why? Sakura asked softly. I'm sorry, I don't talk, fangirl. Naru mocked, making Sakura growl a little before letting out a long sigh. If you have a girlfriend, why did you mess with me like that? Sakura asked. I already told you. I thought you needed some of the same medicine you heaped onto Sasuke. Naru explained. Sasuke loves me. Sakura screeched. Sakura, I used to really like you. I even admired you some when you asked to be friends. When you turned on me, a part of me still hoped you would be my friend, and when I saw you becoming a fangirl, I thought if I showed you what you was doing to Sasuke, you would stop acting like the weak and pathetic fangirl and more like the strong kunoichi I knew you could be. Naru explained, her voice sounding sadder than either Kakashi or Sakura ever heard before. When I started to realize I was wrong, that you were just as pathetic as all of the other civilians, I gave up. I kept bothering you because I started to find it amusing to piss you off every time you hurt me. I found it funny that you would try your best to hurt someone who was giving you the same type of attention you give Sasuke. I don't. Sakura started, though Naru cut her off with a wave of the hand. I don't give a damn what you do anymore, Sakura. You are nothing to me. Sasuke is nothing to me. All I want is to get strong enough to protect Cherry and myself when my secret gets out. Naru said as she got up and shoved her hands in her pocket and started walking away.
That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, then please like, share and do comments.